After 20 years practicing medicine, one thing still surprises me: how quietly the body can ask for help. Not with loud alarms, not with sudden pain, but with whispers, subtle, almost forgettable changes that most people brush aside as just getting older. It often begins with something small, a moment you've likely experienced. You're sitting comfortably, and when you stand, there's a faint tingling in your foot. Or perhaps at night, under the blanket, your soles feel slightly warmer than usual. Nothing dramatic, nothing urgent. So you ignore it. But what if these small sensations are not random at all? What if they are part of a pattern your body has been carefully building, trying to tell you something long before any diagnosis is ever made? Research suggests that many chronic conditions don't begin the day they are discovered. They begin years earlier, quietly progressing beneath the surface, like roots spreading underground before a tree ever becomes visible. And among these conditions, one in particular has earned a reputation for silence: diabetes. Studies indicate that millions of adults live with it for years without knowing, not because the signs aren't there, but because they appear in places most people never think to look. Places like the feet. Think of your body as a vast communication network, like a city filled with electrical wires and delivery routes. And your feet? They sit at the very edge of that network, the farthest point from the control center, which makes them one of the first places where subtle disruptions begin to appear. But here's the question: what exactly are they trying to say? Most people believe diabetes reveals itself in a doctor's office through a number on a lab report, quietly printed beside the words blood sugar. And while that is often how it is confirmed, it is rarely how it begins. Because long before that moment, before any test, before any diagnosis, the body has already started to change. But here's where it becomes fascinating. Scientists have observed that these early changes don't always happen in obvious places, like the heart or the brain. Instead, they often appear at the farthest edges of the body, where circulation is most delicate and communication is most vulnerable. The feet. Why the feet? Because they are like the final stop on a long and winding road. Imagine your bloodstream as a network of delivery trucks carrying oxygen, nutrients, and repair signals. By the time these trucks reach your feet, they've traveled the greatest distance, and any disruption along the way becomes visible there first. At the same time, your nerves, those fine, thread-like messengers, stretch all the way down from your spine to your toes. These nerves rely on a protective coating, almost like insulation around electrical wires, to send clear and accurate signals. Research suggests that elevated sugar levels in the blood can slowly interfere with both of these systems, damaging circulation and weakening nerve communication. And when that happens, the feet begin to speak. Not loudly, not urgently, but consistently. A sensation here, a color change there, a wound that lingers just a little too long. Small clues, easy to dismiss. But let me ask you something. What if noticing them early could change the entire course of your health? I remember a patient once telling me, "I almost didn't come in. It just didn't feel important enough." He was 67, recently retired, still active, still independent. The kind of man who took pride in needing very little help from anyone. He came to see me because of something small, a patch of skin near his ankle that looked slightly darker than usual. No pain, no injury, just a quiet change he couldn't quite explain. At first, he thought it was nothing. And for nearly 2 years, that's exactly how he treated it. But as we talked, other details began to surface. Occasional tingling in his feet, a sense of warmth at night that made it harder to sleep, a small cut on his toe that seemed to linger longer than expected. Individually, each of these felt insignificant. Together, they told a very different story. Studies suggest that millions of adults live with undiagnosed diabetes for years, often because the early signs feel disconnected, like pieces of a puzzle scattered too far apart to recognize. But the body rarely sends random signals. It sends patterns. Looking back, he said something that has stayed with me ever since. I thought if it was serious, it would feel serious. But that's not always how it works. Sometimes the most important warnings are the quietest ones. So let me ask you, what small changes have you noticed that didn't seem worth mentioning? Because in the next few moments, we're going to explore the first signs your feet may be showing and why they matter more than most people realize. It often starts with the feeling so familiar, most people don't question it. A slight tingling, a pins and needles sensation, the kind you might expect if your foot had simply fallen asleep. You shift your weight, maybe take a few steps, and it fades. But what if it doesn't always fade completely? What if it returns again and again, a little more noticeable each time? Research suggests that this may be one of the earliest ways the body signals a change in nerve function, something scientists refer to as peripheral neuropathy. Inside the body, nerves behave much like electrical wires, carrying messages from your feet to your brain. To work properly, these wires are coated in a protective layer, almost like insulation. Over time, studies indicate that elevated sugar levels may begin to wear down this insulation. And when that happens, signals become distorted. A harmless touch may feel like tingling, pressure may feel exaggerated, or sometimes sensation becomes dull and distant, like trying to hear through a wall. Then, for some, another sensation appears. A strange burning feeling, often at night. Have you ever noticed your feet feeling unusually warm under the covers, as if heat is building from within? Scientists have observed that damaged nerves can begin sending false signals, like a fire alarm going off without smoke. It's not heat from outside, it's a message misfiring from within. So the question becomes, if your nerves are beginning to change, how early would you want to know? Now imagine this: a small blister, a minor cut, something so ordinary you barely remember how it happened. You expect it to heal the way it always has. But days pass, then weeks, and somehow it remains. Have you ever noticed a wound on your foot taking longer than expected to close? Research suggests this may be more than just slow healing. It may reflect a deeper shift in how the body repairs itself. Under normal conditions, your bloodstream acts like a delivery system, bringing oxygen, nutrients, and specialized cells to the site of injury. Think of it as a team of skilled workers rushing to repair a damaged road. But studies indicate that when blood vessels become narrowed or less efficient, those workers struggle to arrive on time. The result? Healing slows, sometimes dramatically. What once took days may now take weeks. And here's what makes this particularly important. The feet, being the farthest point in this delivery network, are often the first place where delays become visible. A quiet delay, easy to overlook, but meaningful. Some researchers emphasize what they call a window of awareness, a moment when noticing a small change could prevent a much larger problem later. So let me ask you, If your body was struggling to repair itself, would you recognize the signs in time? Or would it remain just another small detail, waiting to be noticed? Sometimes the body doesn't whisper through sensation, it speaks through color. Have you ever looked down at your ankles and noticed a subtle shift? A darker shade, a reddish hue, or even a faint bluish tone that wasn't there before? It's easy to dismiss. Perhaps you think it's lighting, or simply aging skin. But what if it's something more? Scientists have observed that changes in skin color, especially around the ankles and feet, can reflect how well oxygen is reaching those tissues. Imagine your bloodstream again as a delivery route. The further it travels, the more vulnerable it becomes to slowdowns and blockages. And your feet? They are the final stop. When oxygen delivery becomes less efficient, the skin may begin to change in appearance, almost like a landscape losing its vibrancy when water becomes scarce. It's subtle, but meaningful. This is where the metaphor becomes real. Your body is showing you, visually, what it may no longer be able to say through sensation alone. And then, another change often appears alongside it. Dryness that doesn't respond the way it used to. Cracked heels that seem to return no matter how much care you give them. Could something as simple as dry skin actually be connected to deeper internal changes? Or is it just another coincidence we've learned to ignore? Dry skin is common, especially as we grow older. But there is a difference between dryness that responds and dryness that persists. Have you ever applied moisturizer once, twice, even daily, only to find the cracks returning, sometimes deeper than before? Research suggests this may not always be a surface issue. Beneath the skin, your body relies on a network of tiny glands that regulate moisture. These glands are controlled by what scientists call the autonomic nervous system, the part responsible for automatic functions like heart rate and sweating. When these nerves function well, they quietly maintain balance. But studies indicate that when they become disrupted, something subtle begins to change. Moisture decreases, skin loses its elasticity, and over time, small cracks may form, especially in areas under pressure, like the heels. Think of it like soil in a garden. When water flows regularly, the soil remains soft and flexible, but when the flow is disrupted, it hardens, splits, and becomes fragile. The same principle may apply here. And then there's another signal many people notice but rarely connect. A feeling of heaviness, tightness, even swelling around the feet and ankles. Have you ever removed your socks and noticed deep marks left behind? What if that, too, is part of the message? At the end of the day, many people expect a little fatigue in their legs, but swelling is different. Have you ever noticed your socks leaving deep impressions in your skin, or a sense that your feet feel heavier than they should, almost as if they're carrying more than just your weight? Research suggests that persistent swelling, often called edema, can reflect how fluids are being managed inside the body. Think of your kidneys as a filtration system. Quietly, continuously, they help regulate fluid balance, removing what's unnecessary, keeping what's essential. But studies indicate that when this system becomes strained, fluid may begin to accumulate, especially in the lowest parts of the body, the feet. It's subtle at first, a slight puffiness, a feeling of tightness. But over time, it becomes more noticeable, almost like a river that no longer flows freely, beginning to pool in certain areas. And alongside this, some individuals describe a very different kind of sensation. Not heaviness, not pressure, but sudden, sharp bursts of pain, like a quick electric shock that appears without warning. Have you ever felt something like that, even when nothing touched your foot? Because this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Pain usually has a cause. You bump into something, you step the wrong way, you feel it, and you understand why. But what happens when pain appears without any clear reason? Some people describe it as a sudden jolt, a sharp electric sensation that travels through the foot, almost like a spark jumping between wires. It comes quickly and disappears just as fast. Have you ever experienced something like that and wondered what triggered it? Scientists have observed that when nerves become irritated or damaged, they may begin to send signals even when there is no external stimulus. It's as if the wiring system itself becomes unstable, sending false alarms to the brain. Imagine a doorbell ringing even though no one is at the door. That's what this type of pain can feel like: unpredictable, confusing, easy to dismiss, but meaningful, because it suggests that communication within the body is no longer as precise as it once was. And then, for others, the experience shifts in the opposite direction. Instead of sudden signals, there is less sensation, a feeling of cold that doesn't seem to match the environment. Have you ever noticed your feet feeling unusually cold, even when the room is warm? What could cause that kind of disconnect? Cold feet can seem harmless. You might reach for thicker socks, adjust the blanket, or assume it's simply circulation slowing with age. But what if the sensation lingers, even in warmth? Research suggests that persistent coldness in the feet may reflect changes in blood flow, particularly in the small vessels that carry warmth to the outer edges of the body. Imagine a system of pipes carrying warm water through a home. If those pipes begin to narrow, the flow becomes restricted. Less warmth reaches the farthest rooms. And in the body, those rooms are often the feet. This condition, sometimes linked to reduced circulation, may quietly develop over time, without dramatic warning. And then, there's one final sign that often goes unnoticed, not because it's hidden, but because it seems so ordinary. Take a moment and think. Have you ever noticed less hair on your toes or the tops of your feet than you remember having before? It's easy to overlook. But scientists have observed that hair follicles depend on consistent blood flow to remain active. When that flow diminishes, growth may slow or stop altogether. Like a field that no longer receives enough water, the visible signs appear gradually. So here's a question worth asking. When multiple small changes begin to appear together, are they still small? Or are they part of a larger message waiting to be understood? In medicine, one of the most difficult moments is not delivering a diagnosis. It's realizing how long the body has been trying to give one. Because the truth is, many of the signs we've explored today don't appear suddenly. They unfold slowly, quietly weaving into daily life, becoming familiar, even normal. A little tingling, a slower healing cut, a change in color, a feeling of cold. Each one on its own seems small, but together they form a pattern. Research suggests that early awareness can make a meaningful difference in how these patterns evolve over time, not through fear, but through attention, because attention changes outcomes. So tonight, I'd like to invite you to do something simple. Take just 30 seconds. Sit down, gently look at your feet, and ask yourself, have I noticed any of these changes? No judgment, no assumptions, just awareness. Because sometimes the most powerful step isn't a treatment or a test, it's noticing. And if something feels different, unfamiliar, or persistent, that awareness may become the beginning of a very important conversation, not with urgency, but with understanding. Because your body has been speaking all along, and perhaps tonight is the moment you finally begin to listen.